Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Magnaतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जना शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सगृजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सह गणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते कुपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास हरि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनारित्यन्दस्तोय भद्राणि वितुनुति सुहृत्सतं नष्टप्रायेष्व भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भागवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Before reciting the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma supersoul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead who is praised with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Where is everyone, Prabhu?
Oh, I don't know. Let me message.
Saiva Purushas Tasmad. Canto 2, chapter 5, text number 35. Saiva Purushas Tasmad Andam Nirbidya Nirgata Sahasro Vangriba Vaksha Sahasranana Shavan. Saha, he, the Lord. Eva himself, Purushaha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Tasmad, from within the universe, Andam, Hiranyagarbha, Nirvidya, dividing, Nirgata, came out, Sahasra, thousands, Uru, thighs, Angri, legs, Bahu, arms, Aksha, eyes, Sahasra, thousands of, Anana, mouths, Shishavan, with heads also. Translation. The Lord Mahavishnu, although lying in the causal ocean, came out of it, and dividing himself as Hiranyagarbha, he entered into each universe
mm.
and assumed the Virat Rupa with thousands of legs, arms, mouths, and heads, etc. Purport. The expansion of the planetary systems within each and every universe are situated in the different part of the Virat Rupa universal form of the Lord, and they are described as follows. Hmm. Text number 36. Yasyehava Yasyehava lokan kalpayanti manishina katyadibir ada sapta saptordvam janganadibi. Yasya, whose, iha, in the universe, avayavai, by the limbs of the body, lokan, are the planets, kalpayanti, imagine, manishina, great philosophers, katyadibi, down from the waist, ada, downwards, sapta, seven systems, sapta urdam, and seven systems upwards, shagana, adibi, front portion, translation. Great philosophers imagine that the complete planetary systems in the universe are displays of the different limbs of the universal body of the Lord, downwards and upwards. Purport. The word Kalpayanti or imagine is significant. The Virat universal form of the Absolute is an imagination of the speculative philosophers who are unable to adjust to the eternal two-handed form of Lord Sri Krishna. Although the universal form as imagined by the great philosophers is one of the up features of the Lord, it is more or less imaginary. It is said that seven upper planetary systems are situated about the waist of the universal form, whereas the lower planetary systems are situated down from his way. The idea impressed herein is that the Supreme Lord is conscious of every part of his body, and nowhere in the creation is there anything beyond his control. Text number 37.
Can I do it?
Yes, Prabhu.
पुरुषस्य मुखं ब्रह्म कृस्त्रम् एतस्य भावः पुरवोर्वश्यो भगवता पद्मायं सूत्रो विजायते पुरुषस्य the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mukham, mouth, Brahma is the Brahmana, Kshatram, the royal order, Yatasya, of him, Bhavaha, the arms, Uravo, the thighs, Vaishasya, the mercantile man, Bhagavata, of the Personality of Godhead, Padyam, from his legs, Shudra, the laborer class, Vijayat, Vijayata, become manifested. Translation. The Brahmanas represent his mouth, the Kshatriyas his arms, the Vaishyas as his thighs, and the Shudras the bone of his legs. Purport. All living beings are stated to be part and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and how they are so explained is how they are so is explained in this verse. The four divisions of the human society, namely the intelligent class or the Brahmanas, the administrative class or the Kshatriya, the mercantile class or the Vaishyas, and the Shudra class or the laborers, are all different parts of the body of the Lord. As such, no one is different from the Lord. The mouth of the mouth of the body and the legs of the body are non-different constitutionally, but the mouth of the head of the body is qualitatively more important than the legs. At the same time, the mouth, the legs, the arms, and the thigh all are components part of this body of the body. These limbs of the body are Lord of the Lord are meant for to serve the complete whole. The mouth is meant for speaking, eating. The arms are meant for protection of the body. The legs are meant for carrying the body. And the waist of the body is meant for maintaining the body. The intelligent class in the society, therefore, must speak on behalf of the body, as well as accept foodstuff to satisfy the hunger of the body. The hunger of the Lord is to accept the fruits of sacrifice. The Brahmanas or the intelligent class must be very expert in performing such sacrifices, and the subordinate class must join in such sacrifices to speak for the Supreme Lord, means to glorify the Lord by means of propagating the knowledge of the Lord as it is, broadcasting the factual nature of the Lord and the factual position of all the other parts of the whole body. The Brahmanas, therefore, are required to know the Vedas for the ultimate source of knowledge. Veda means knowledge, and Anta means the end of it. According to Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is the source of everything. Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, and thus the end of all knowledge, Vedanta, is to know the Lord, to know our relationship with Him, and to act accordingly to that relationship only. The parts of the body are related to the body. Similarly, the living beings must know his relationship with the God, with the Lord. The human life is specially meant for this purpose, namely, to know the factual relationship of every living being within the Supreme Lord. Without knowing this relationship, the human life is spoiled. The intelligent class of men, the Brahmanas, are therefore specially responsible for broadcasting this knowledge of our relationship with the Lord and leading the general mass of people to the right path. The administrative class is meant for protecting the living beings so that they can serve this purpose. The purpose, the mercantile class is meant for producing food grains and distributing them to the complete human society so that the whole population is given a chance to live comfortably and discharge the duties of human life. The mercantile class is also required to give protection to the cows in order to get sufficient milk and milk products, which alone can give the proper health and intelligence to maintain the civilization perfectly, meant for knowledge of the ultimate truth. And the laborer class, who are neither intelligent nor powerful, can help by physical services or to the other higher classes and thus be benefited by their cooperation. Therefore, the universe is a complete unit in relationship with the Lord, and without this relationship with the Lord, the human society is disturbed and without any peace and prosperity. This is confirmed in the Vedas. Brahmanyasya mukham asid bahu rajanyukrata. Text 38. भूलोका भूलोकः कल्पितः अयं भुवर्लोकस्य न विता इत्यस्वर्लोक उरस उरस महर्लोको महात्मना Bhu, the lower planetary system up to the stratum of the Earth, Loka, the planets, Kapil, Kap, Kalpita, it is so imagined or said, Padya, Padhyam, out of the legs, Bhova, the upper, Loka, the planetary system, Tasya, of him, the Lord's, Navita, from the navel, abdomen, Vida, by the heart, Swarloka, the planetary system occupied by the demigods, Purusha by chest, Maharloka, the planetary system occupied by the great sages and saints, Mahar Atmana, the supreme personality of Godhead. Translation: the lower planetary systems up to the limit of the earthly stratum are said to be situated in his legs. The middle planetary system, beginning from Maharloka, are situated within his level, and still higher planetary system occupied by the demigods and highly cultured sages and saints are situated in the chest of the Supreme Lord. Purport: there are 14 spheres of the planetary system within this universe. The lower systems are called Bhuvarloka, the middle systems are called Bhuvarloka, and the higher planetary systems up to Brahmaloka, the highest planetary system of the universe, are called Vasarloka, and all of them are situated in the on the body of the Lord. Or, in other words, no one within this universe is without the relationship with the Lord. Text 39. Hridayam janalokos janalokasya apolokastanadyave mrtabhi satyalokastu brahmaloka sanatana grivayam up to the uh, Grivayam up to the neck. Janaloka, the Janaloka planetary system. Asya of him. Tapaloka, the Tapaloka planetary system. Stanadevya, beginning from the breast. Medhavi, by the head. Satyaloka, the Satyaloka planetary system too, but from Loka, the spiritual planet. Sanatana, eternal. Translation: from the forefront of the chest up to the neck of the universal form of the Lord are situated in the are situated in the planetary systems named Janaloka and Tapaloka, whereas Satyaloka, the topmost planetary system, is situated on the head of the form. The spiritual planets, however, are eternal. Purport: many times in these pages, Hare Krishna Prabhu, many times in these pages, we have discussed the spiritual planets situated beyond the material sky, and the description is corroborated in this verse. The word Sanatana is significant. This very idea of eternity is expressed in the Bhagavad Gita 8.20, where it is said, beyond the material creation, there is a spiritual sky where everything is eternal. Sometimes Satyaloka, the planet in which Brahma resides, is also called the Brahmaloka, but the Brahmaloka is mentioned here is not the same as Satyaloka planetary system. The Brahmaloka is eternal, whereas the Satyaloka planetary system is not eternal. And to distinguish between the two, The adjective Sanatana is being used in this case. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, this Brahmaloka system, the Brahmaloka is the Loka abode of Brahma or the Supreme Lord. In the spiritual sky, all planets are good as the Lord Himself. The Lord is all spirit, and His name, fame, glories, pastime, etc. are not different from Him because He is absolute. As such, these planets in the kingdoms of God are also not different from Him. In those planets, there is no difference between the body and the soul, nor is there any influence of the time as we experience it here in the material world. And in addition to there being no influence of time, the planets in the Brahmaloka, due to their being spiritual, are never annihilated. All the variegatedness in the spiritual planets is also one with the Lord, and therefore the Vedic aphorism Ekam Evaditam is fully realized in that Sanatana atmosphere of spiritual variegatedness. This material world is only a shadow, phantasmagoria of the spiritual kingdom of the Lord. And because it is a shadow, it is never eternal. The variegatedness in the material world is of duality, spirit and matter, cannot be compared with that of the spiritual world. Because of poor fund of knowledge, less intelligent persons sometimes mistake the condition of the shadow world to be equivalent to those of the spiritual world. And thus the Lord and his pastimes in the material world are mistaken as one with conditioned soul and their activities. The Lord condemns such less intelligent persons in the Bhagavad Gita 9:11. Avijananti mamudha manusem tanumasritam param bhava abhyanat ajananto bambhuta maheshwaram. Whenever the Lord incarnates, he does not he does so in his full eternal potency, Atmamaya. A less intelligent person mistake him to be one of his material creations. Sri Sridhar Goswami, therefore, rightly commenting on this verse, says that Brahmaloka mentioned here is the Vaikuntha, the kingdom of God, which is Sanatana and eternal, and therefore not exactly like the material creations described above. The Virata, the universal form of Lord, is an imagination for the material world. It has nothing to do with the spiritual world or the kingdom of God. Text 40 to 41. Tat Katyam Chatalam Klaptam Rubhyam Vitalam Vibho Janubhayam Stotam Sotam Jambam Jagbayatam Tal Talatalam Mahatalam Tu Gulpabhyam Praptabhyam Rasatayatam Rasatalam Rasatalam Patalam Padam Tala Lata Iti Loka Vaya Bhuvan. That in his Katyam Vesh Cha also Patalam, the first planetary system below Earth, Kriptam situated where on the thighs, Vitalam, the second planetary system, Vibho O Narada, Janubium on the ankles, Vilam, the third planetary system, below Sudam, purified, Shuddham, purified, Jangabhyam on the joints, two, but Talatalam, the fourth planetary system below, Matam, the fifth planetary system below, two, but Gulfabhyam, situated on the calves, Samadhyam on the upper or front portion of the feet. Rasa the circulatory system below Patalam, the central system below Padatala on the bottom soles of the feet. Which does the human universal planetary systems demand the Lord. Translation. My dear son Narada, know from me that there are seven lower planetary systems out of the total 14. The first planetary system, known as Atala, is situated on the waist. The second, Vitala, is situated on the thighs. The third, Sutala, on the ankles, and the fourth, Talatala, on the joints. The fifth, Mahatala, on the calves. The sixth, Rasatala, on the upper portion of the feet. And the seventh, Patala, is situated on the soles of the feet. Thus, the Virat Rupa form of the Lord is full of all planetary systems. Purport. Modern enterprises, the astronaut who travel in the space, may take information from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that in the space there are 14 divisions of planetary system. The situation is calculated from the earthly planetary system, which is the Bhuvaloka. Above the Bhuvaloka is the Bhuvaloka. In the topmost planetary system is called the Satyaloka. These are the upper planetary system. These are the upper seven loka planetary systems. And similarly, there are seven lower planetary systems known as Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Atala, Atala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala lokas. All of these planetary systems are scattered over the universe, over the complete universe, which occupies an area of around 2 trillion times 2 trillion square miles. The modern astronauts can travel only a few thousand miles away from the Earth, and therefore, okay, it's not actually 2 trillion, it's and therefore their attempt to travel in the sky is something like a child's play on the shore of an expansive ocean. The moon is situated on the third status of the planetary system. And in the fifth canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we shall be able to know the distant situation of various planets scattered in the vast material sky. There are innumerable universes beyond one in which we are put. And all of these material universes cover only an insignificant portion of the spiritual sky, which is described above as Sanatana Brahmaloka. The Supreme Lord very kindly invites the intelligent human beings to return back home to back to God. Punar avartino Bhavat Bhavateya Kunteya Punajalman Navidyate 816. Beginning from Satyaloka, the topmost planet of the universe, situated just below the eternal Brahmaloka, is described above. All the planets are material, and one situated in any of the material planets is still subjected to the law of material nature, namely, but that old age and disease. But one can get complete liberation from all the above mentioned material planets when one enters to the Brahmaloka atmosphere. Second, number four. Therefore, liberation is contemplated by the speculative philosophers and the mystics is possible only when one becomes a pure devotee and one becomes a devotee of the Lord. Anyone who is not a devotee of the Lord cannot enter into the kingdom of God. Only by attainment of the service attitude in the transcendental position can one enter into the kingdom of God. And therefore, the speculative philosopher as well as the mystic must first of be all be attracted to the devotional cult before they can factually attain the devotion. Can read.
Do you want me to read?
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Yes, Prabhu, you
Hare
can
Krishna,
read.
Prabhu. Yeah,
Thank
Dhanvat
you.
Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Text 42, the last verse of this chapter.
हरे कृष्ण बहुत धन्यवाद प्रणाम और गॉड टू
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Okay. Text 42. भूर्लोकः कल्पिताः पद्भ्याम् भुवर्लोकस्य नाभीतः स्वर्लोकः कल्पितो मूर्धना इति वा लोककल्पना. Synonyms. Bhurlokaha, the entire planetary system beginning from Patala to the entire earthly planetary system. Kalpitaha, imagined. Padbhyam, situated on the legs. Bhuvarlokaha, Bhuvarlokaha, the Bhuvarloka planetary system. Asya, of the universal form of the Lord. Nabhitaha, out of the navel abdomen. Swarloka, Swarlokaha, the higher planetary system beginning with the heavenly planets. Kalpitaha, imagined. Murdhana, beginning from the chest to the head. Iti, thus, Va, either. Loka, the planetary systems. Kalpana, imagination. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Others may divide the whole planetary system into three divisions, namely the lower planetary systems on the legs up to the earth, the middle planetary systems on the navel, and the upper planetary systems of Swarloka from the chest to the head of the Supreme Personality. Purport. Hold on, bro. The three divisions of the complete planetary systems are here mentioned. 14 are imagined by others, and that is also explained. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, fifth chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled The Cause of All Causes. Chapter 6, Purusha Sukta confirmed. Text 1. Brahmovacha Vacham Vahner Mukham Kshetram Chandasam Sapta Dhatavaha Havya Kavyamritananam Jihva Sarva Rasasya Cha. Synonyms. Brahma Uvacha. The Lord Brahma said, Vacham, of the voice, Vahnehe, of fire, Mukham, the mouth, Kshetram, generating center, Chandasam, of the Vedic hymns, such as Gayatri, Sapta, 7, Dhatavaha, skin and 6 other layers, Havya, Kavya, offering for the demigods and the forefathers, Amrita, food for human beings, Annanam, of all sorts of foodstuffs, Jihva, the tongue, Sarva, all, Rasasya, of all delicacies, Cha, also. Translation. Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the Virata Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, is the generating center of the voice, and the controlling deity is fire. His skin and 6 other layers are the generating centers of the Vedic hymns, and his tongue is the productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies for offering to the demigods, the forefathers, and the general mass of people. Purport. The opulences of the universal form of the Lord are described herein, and it is said that his mouth is the generating center of all kinds of voices, and its controlling deity is the fire demigod. And his skin and other 6 layers of the bodily constructions are the representative generating centers of the 7 kinds of Vedic hymns like the Gayatri, etc. Gayatri is the beginning of all Vedic mantras and it is explained in the first volume of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Since the generating centers are the different parts of the universal form of the Lord, and since the form of the Lord is transcendental to the material creation, it is to be understood that the voice, the tongue, the skin, etc., suggest that the Lord in his transcendental form is not without them. The material voice or the energy of intaking footstep is is generated originally from the Lord. Such actions are but perverted reflections of the original reservoirs. The transcendental situation is not without spiritual variegatedness. In the spiritual world, all the perverted forms of material variegatedness are fully represented in their original spiritual identity. The only difference is that material activities are contaminated by the three modes of material nature, whereas the potencies in the spiritual world are all purified because they are engaged in the unalloyed, transcendental, loving service of the Lord. In the spiritual world, the Lord is the sublime enjoyer of everything, and the living entities there are all engaged in His transcendental loving service without any contamination of the modes of material nature. The activities in the spiritual world are without any of the inebrities of the material world, but there is no question of impersonal voidness on the spiritual platform as suggested by the impersonalists. Devotional service is defined in the Narada Pancharatra as follows: Sarvopadhi Vinirmuktvam Tat Parattvena Nirmalam Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. Originally, since all the senses are being produced out of the Lord's reservoir of senses, the sensual activities of the material world are to be purified by the process of devotional service, and thus the perfection of life can be attained simply by purifying the present position of our material activities. And the purifying process begins from the stage of being liberated from the conception of different designations. Every living entity is engaged in some sort of service, either for the self or for the family or for the society, country, etc. But unfortunately, all such services are rendered due to material attachment. The attachments of the material affinity may be simply changed to the service of the Lord, and thus the treatment of being freed from material attachment begins automatically. The process of liberation is therefore easier through devotional service than by any other methods. For in the Bhagavad Gita 12:5, it is said that one is subjected to various kinds of tribulations if one is impersonally attached. Kleshodhi, Kleshodhikataras tesham avyaktatasakta avyaktatasakta chetasam. Text 2. Sarvasunam cha वायोश्च तन्नासे परमायणे अश्विनोर ओषधीनां च गृहाणो परमयोः मोद प्रमोदयोः synonyms. Sarva, all. Asunam, different kinds of life, air, cha, and vayo, of the air, cha, also, tat, his, nase, in the nose, parama, ayane, in the transcendental generating center, ashvinoh, of the Ashwini Kumaras, demigods, oshadhinam, of the medicinal herbs, cha, also, grahanaha, his Granaha, his smelling power, Moda, pleasure, Pramodayoha, specific sport. Translation. His two nostrils are the generating centers of our breathing and of all other airs. His smelling powers generate the Ashwini Kumara demigods and all kinds of medicinal herbs, and his breathing energies produce different kinds of fragrance. Next 3. Rupanam Tejasam Chakshur Divah Suryasya Chakshini Karnau Disham Cha Tirthanam Srotram Akasha Shabdayoh. Synonyms: Rupanam, for all kinds of forms; Tejasam, of all that is illuminating; Chakshuhu, the eyes; Divaha, that which glitters; Suryasya, of the sun; Cha, also; Akshini, the eyeballs; Karnau, the ears; Disham, of all directions; Cha, and Tirthanam, of all the Vedas; Shrotram, the sense of hearing; Akasha, the sky; Shabdayoh, of all sounds. Translation: His eyes are the generating centers of all kinds of forms, and they glitter and illuminate. His eyeballs are like the sun and the heavenly planets. His ears hear from all sides and are receptacles for all the Vedas, and his sense of hearing is the generating center of the sky and of all kinds of sound. Purport: the word Tirthanam is sometimes interpreted to mean the places of pilgrimage, but Srila Jiva Goswami says that it means the reception of the Vedic transcendental knowledge. The profounders of the Vedic knowledge are also known as the Tirthas. Text 4. Tadgatram Vasutararanam Tadgatram Vasutaranam Saubhagasya cha Bhajanam Tvagasya Parshvayoscha Sarvamedhasya Chaiva Hi. Synonyms: Tat, his; Gatram, bodily surface; Vasura, Vatsaranam. Prabhu, can you please scroll up a bit? Yeah. Vatusara, Vastu Saranam, of the activity principles of all articles; Saubhagasya, of all auspicious opportunities; Cha, and Bhajanam, field of production; Tvak, skin; Asya, his; Sparsha, touch; Vayo, of the moving airs; Cha, also; Sarva, all kinds of; Mehadasya, of sacrifices; Cha, also; Eva, certainly; He, exactly. Translation: His bodily surface is the breeding ground for the active principles of everything and for all kinds of auspicious opportunities. His skin, like the moving air, is the generating center for all kinds of senses of touch and is the place for performing all kinds of sacrifices. Purport: the air is the moving agent of all the planets, and as such, the generating centers for promotion to the deserving planets. The sacrifices are his bodily surface and are naturally the origin of all auspicious opportunities. Text 5. Romani udbhavijya jatinam yairva jagnastu sambhratah kesha smashroom naktanyasyaam shila lohabra vidyutam. Synonyms: Romani, hairs on the body; Udbija, vegetables; Jatinam, of the kingdoms; Yaih, by which; Va, either; Yajnaha, sacrifices; Tu, but; Sambrataha, particularly served; Kesha, hairs; Smashru, facial; Nakhani, nails; Asya, of him; Shila, stones, Loha, iron ores, Abra, mica, Vidyutam, electricity. Translation: the hairs on his body are the cause of all vegetation, particularly of those trees which are required as ingredients for sacrifice. The hairs on his head are reservoirs for the clouds, and his face is the breeding ground of electricity and mica. His nails are of stones and iron ores. Purport: the polished nails of the Lord generate electricity, and the clouds rest on the hairs of his head, and from his face mica is produced. One can therefore collect all sorts of necessities of life from the person of the Lord, and therefore the Vedas affirm that everything that is produced is caused by the Lord. The Lord is the supreme cause of all causes. Text 6. Bhava Bahavoloka Palanam Prayashah Kshema Karmanam. Synonyms: Bahavaha, arms, Loka Palanam, of the governing deities of planets, the demigods, Prayashaha, almost always, Kshema Karmanam, of those who are leaders and protectors of the general mass. Translation: the Lord's arms are the productive fields for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass. Purport: this important verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is corroborated and nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita 10:41-42 as follows: Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam Srimad urjitam eva va taddad eva va gaccha tvam mama tejomsa sambhavam athava बहुनैतेन किं ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन विष्टाभ्याहम् इदं कृत्स्नम् एकांशेन स्थितो जगत्. There are many powerful kings, leaders, learned scholars, scientists, artists, engineers, inventors, excavators, archaeologists, industrialists, politicians, economists, business magnates, and many more powerful deities or demigods like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Surya, Varuna, Marut, etc., who are all protecting the interest of the universal affairs of maintenance in different positions, and all of them are different powerful parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the father of all living entities. They are placed in different high and low positions according to their desires or aspirations. Some of them are particularly mentioned above, or specifically endowed with powers by the will of the Lord. A sane person must know for certain that a living being, however powerful he may be, is neither absolute nor independent. All living beings must accept the origin of their specific power as mentioned in this verse. And if they act accordingly, then simply by discharging their respective occupational duties, they can achieve the highest perfection of life, namely eternal life, complete knowledge, and inexhaustible blessings. As soon as the powerful men of the world do not accept the origin of their respective powers, namely the personality of Godhead, the actions of Maya or illusion will continue to act. The actions of Maya and illusion are such that a powerful person misled by the illusionary material energy wrongly accepts himself as all in all and does not develop God consciousness. As such, the false sense of egoism, namely myself and mine, has become overly prominent in the world, and there is a hard struggle for existence in the human society. The intelligent class of men, therefore, must admit the Lord as the ultimate source of all energies and thus pay tribute to the Lord for his good blessings. Simply by accepting the Lord as the supreme person supreme proprietor of everything, as he is actually so, one can achieve the highest perfection of life. Whatever a person may be in the estimation of the social order of things, if a person tries to reciprocate a feeling of love towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is satisfied with the blessings of the Lord, he will at once feel the highest peace of mind for which he is hankering life after life. Peace of mind, or in other words, the healthy state of mind, can only be achieved when the mind is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The parts and parcels of the Lord are endowed with specific powers for rendering service unto the Lord, just as a big business magnate's sons are empowered with specific powers of administration. The obedient son of the father never goes against the will of the father, and therefore passes life very peacefully in concurrence with the head of the family, the father. Similarly, the Lord being the father, all living beings should fully and satisfactorily discharge the duty and will of the father as faithful sons. This very mentality will at once bring peace and prosperity to the human society. Text 7. Vikramo bhur swaha cha kshemasya sharanasya cha sarvakama varasyapi harescharana aspadam. Synonyms: Vikramaha, forward steps; Bhuh Bhuvaha, of the lower and upper planets; Swaha, as well as of heaven; Cha, also; Kshemasya, of protection of all that we have; Sharanasya, of fearlessness; Cha, also; Sarva Kama, all that we need; Varasya, of all benediction; Api, exactly; Hareh, of the Lord; Charanaha, lotus feet; Ashpadam, shelter. Translation. Thus, the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter of the three upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. They serve as protection for all kinds of fear. Purport. For absolute protection from all sorts of fear, as well as for all our needs of life, we must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, not only in this planet but also in all the upper, lower, and heavenly planets. This absolute dependency on the lotus feet of the Lord is called pure devotional service, and it is directly hinted within this passage. No one should have any kind of doubt in this matter, nor should one be inclined to seek the help of any other demigods, because all of them are dependent on him only. Everyone except the Lord himself is dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Even the all-pervading super soul is also dependent on the supreme aspect of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Text 8. Apam वीर्यस्य सर्गस्य पर्जन्यस्य प्रजापतेः पुंसः शिश्ना उपस्थस्तु प्रजाति आनंद निवृत्तिः. Synonyms: Apam, of water; Viryasya, of the semen; Sargasya, of the generative; Parjanyasya, of rains; Prajapateh, of the creator; Pumsaha, of the Lord; Shishnaha, the genitals; Upastha, the place where the genitals are situated; Prajati, due to begetting; Ananda, pleasure; Nirvrittihi, cause. Translation: From the Lord's genitals originate water, semen, generatives, rains, and the procreators. His genitals are the cause of a pleasure that counteracts the distress of begetting. Purport. The genitals and the pleasure of begetting counteract the distresses of family encumbrances. One should cease to generate altogether if, by the grace of the Lord, there were not a coating, a pleasure giving substance on the surface of the generative organs. This substance gives a pleasure so intense that it counteracts fully the distress of family encumbrances. A person is so captivated by this pleasure giving substance that he is not satisfied by giving birth to a single child, but he increases the number of children with great risk of maintaining them simply for this pleasure giving substance. This pleasure giving substance is not false, however, because it originates from the transcendental body of the Lord. In other words, the pleasure giving substance is a reality, but it has taken up an assumption of pervertedness on account of material contamination. In the material world, sex life is the cause of many distresses on account of material contact. Therefore, the sex life in the material world should not be encouraged beyond the necessity. There is a necessity for generating progeny, progeny even in the material world, but such generation of children must be carried out with full responsibility for spiritual values. The spiritual values of life can be realized in the human form of material existence, and the human being must adopt family planning with reference to the context of spiritual values and not otherwise. The degraded form of family restriction by use of contraceptives, etc., is the grossest type of material contamination. Materialists who use these devices want to fully utilize the pleasure potency of the coating on the genitals by artificial means without knowing the spiritual importance. And without knowledge of spiritual values, the less intelligent man tries to utilize only the material sense pleasure of the genitals. Text 9. पायुर्यमस्य मित्रस्य पारिमोक्षस्य नारदा हिंसा हिंसाया निर्वृत्तेर्मृत्योर् निर निरयस्य निरस् निरयस्य गुदं स्मृतं. Synonyms. Payuhu, the evacuating outlet. Yamasya, the controlling deity of death. Mitrasya, of Mitra. Parimokshasya, of the evacuating hole. Narada, O Narada. Himsaya, of envy. Niritte, of misfortune. Mrityo, of death. Niravasya, of hell. Gudam, the rectum. Smritam, is understood. Translation. O Narada, the evacuating outlet of the universal form of the Lord is the adobe of the controlling deity of death, Mitra, and evacuating hole, and the rectum of the Lord is the place of envy, misfortune, death, hell, etc. Text 10. Parabhutera dharmasya tamasaschapi paschimah नाध्यो नद नदीनां च गोत्राणाम् अस्ति संहतिः. Synonyms. Parabhuteः, of frustration. Adharmasya, of immortality. Tamasaha, of ignorance. Cha, and api, as also. Pas- Paschimaha, back. Nad Nadyaha, of the intestines. Nada, of the great rivers. Nadinam, of the rivulets. Cha, also Gotranam, of the mountains. Asti, bones. Samhatihi, accumulation. Translation. The backside of the Lord is the place for all kinds of frustrations and ignorance, as well as for immortality. From his veins flow the great rivers and rivulets, and on his bones are stacked the great mountains. Purport. In order to defy the impersonal conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a systematic analysis of the psychological and anatomical constitution of his transcendental body is given here. It is clear from the available description of the body of the Lord, his universal form, that the form of the Lord is distinct from the forms of ordinary mundane conception. In any case, he is never a formless void. Ignorance is the backside of the Lord, and therefore the ignorance of the less intelligent class of men is also not separate from his bodily conception. Since his body is the complete whole of everything that be, one cannot assert that he is impersonal only. On the contrary, the perfect description of the Lord holds that he is both impersonal and personal simultaneously. The personality of Godhead is the original feature of the Lord, and his impersonal emanation is just the reflection of his transcendental body. Those who are fortunate, those who are fortunate enough to have a view of the Lord from the front can realize his personal feature, whereas those who are frustrated and are thus kept on the ignorant side of the Lord, or in other words, those who have the view of the Lord from the backside, realize him in his impersonal feature. Text 11. Avyaktarasa sindhunam bhutanam nidhanasya cha udaram viditam pumsom hridayam manasah padam. Synonyms: Avyakta, impersonal feature; Rasa, Sindhunam, of the seas and oceans of water; Bhutanam, of those who take birth in the material world; Nidhanasya, of the annihilation; Cha, also; Udaram, his belly; Viditam, is known by the intelligent class of men; Pumsaha, of the great personality; Hridayam, the heart; Manasaha, of the subtle body; Padam, place. Translation: The impersonal feature of the Lord is the abode of great oceans, and the resting place for the materially annihilated living entities is the belly of the Lord. His heart is the abode of the subtle material bodies of living beings. Thus, it is known by the intelligent class of men. Purport: In the Bhagavad Gita 8, 17 and 18, it is stated that according to human calculations, one day of Brahma is equal to 1000 ages of 4 millenniums, 4.3 million years. Each and the same period is calculated to be his night also. A Brahma lives for 100 such years and then dies. A Brahma, who is generally a great devotee of the Lord, attains liberation after such a downfall. The universe, called the Brahmanda, or the round football like domain controlled by a Brahma, thus becomes annihilated, and thus the inhabitants of a particular planet or of the whole universe are also annihilated. Avyakta mentioned here in this verse means the night period of Brahma, when particular annihilation takes place and the living entities of the particular Brahmanda up to the planets of Brahmaloka, along with the big oceans, etc., are all reposed in the belly of the Virata Purusha. At the end of the Brahma's night, the creation again takes place, and the living entities reserved within the belly of the Lord are let loose to play their respective parts as if being awakened from a deep slumber. Since the living entities are never destroyed, the annihilation of the material world does not annihilate the existence of the living entities. But until liberation is attained, one has to accept one material body after another again and again repeatedly. The human life is meant for making a solution to this repeated change of bodies and thereby attaining a place in the spiritual sky where everything is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. In other words, the subtle forms of the living entities take place in the heart of the Supreme Being, and such forms take tangible shape at the time of creation.
Haribol. Okay, last verse.
Text 12. Dharmasya mama tubhyam cha kumaranam bhavasya cha vijnanasya cha sattvasya parashyatma parayanam. Synonyms: Dharmasya, of religious principles or of Amaraja; mama, mine; tubhyam, of yours; cha, and kumaranam, of the four Kumaras; bhavasya, Lord Shiva; cha, and also; vijnanasya, of transcendental knowledge; cha, also; sattvasya, of truth; parasya, of the great personality; atma, consciousness; parayanam, dependent. Translation: Also, the consciousness of that great personality is the abode of religious principles, mine, yours, and that of the four bachelors, Shanaka, Sanatana, Sanatkumara, and Sanandana. The consciousness is also the abode of truth and transcendental knowledge.
Oh, what is this? Okay, tomorrow we start with the long verse.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, can you summarize little?
Oh, yes, Prabhu.
Because I can remember something after this. If you summarize very well, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Now, for what we read was only like the description of the different parts of the universal form. Was there something else?
Praveen, Prabhu, you please some.
No, in fact, see, the ultimate point here is everything emanates from the body of the universal form. Okay, so different planets take place at different parts of the body universal form. Okay, there is nothing generated without the dependency on the universal form. That's what explained in detail throughout these verses. And
Yes.
and every part represents some kind of demigod as well. If you go back, I don't remember exactly, fire and other demigods as well.
Yes, Prabhu. And in the end of the previous chapter, there was the different parts of the universe.
Right.
Yes, Shubham Prabhu. Was that all?
Yes, bro. I want that sense.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay, Haribol. Now we go to the Damodarashtakam.
నమామీశ్వరం సచ్చిదానందరూపం రసత్కుండలం గోకులే భ్రాజమానం యశోదాభియోలు కలాబ్ధవమానం పరామృష్టమత్యంతతో ధృతిగోప్య
रुदन्तं मुहुर्नेत्रयुग्मं मृजन्दं परम्भोयुग्मेन सातङ्गनेत्रं मुहुःसासकं वातरेखाग्रकण्ठं तग्रयुं दामोदरं भक्तिबद्धं
Iti Trixvalila-birananda-kunde svagosham nimajantamakhyapayantam tadiyesitagneshu bhaktarjitatvam punah prematastam sata vrittibande.
Oram neo moksha moksha न जानं मृणे हमरे साधुपि है इदं द्वयो पूर्णोऽधिकोपालबालं सदा मे मनसा विरास्तां गुमन्यै
इदं
idam
ते
te
मुखाम्भोजमत्यन्तनीलैर्वृतं कुन्तलैस्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या मुहुचुम्बितं बिम्बरक्ताधरं मे मनस्याविरास्ताम् अलं लक्षलाभैः
नमो देव दामोदरानन्द विष्णु श्रीद प्रभो दुःखजालादिमग्नं कृपादृष्टिवृष्ट्यातिदीनं बतानु गृहाणेश मामज्ञ मे मेध्यक्षदृश्यम्
कुबेरात्मजौ बद्धमूर्त्यै वयाद्वत् स्वयमुचितौ भक्तिभजौ कृतौ च तथा प्रेमभक्तिं स्वकं मे प्रयच्छ न मुक्षे ग्रहो मेऽस्ति दामोदरः
नमस्तेऽस्तु धाम्ने स्फुरदीप्तिधाम्ने त्वदीयोधरायाथा विश्वस्य धाम्ने नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियायै नमो अनन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम्
Haribol. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord Sri Damodar I offer my humble obeisances.
Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is trying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus, and his eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with three lines like a council, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying to the Supreme Lord Sri Damodara, whose belief is bound not with robe but with his mother's pure love. I offer my humble obeisance.
by such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in the pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbues with the intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodara hundreds and hundreds of times.
O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Balagopala in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart, for what is the use to me of any other boon besides this?
O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me.
O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you, O Damodar, O Ananda, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord. Be pleased upon me by showering your glance of mercy upon me. Deliver this poor, ignorant, soul who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrow and become visible to my eyes.
O Lord Damodara, just as the two sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalaguvara, were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into a great devotees by you in your form as a baby, tied with rope to a wooden grinding mortar. In the same way, please give to me your own Prema Bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation.
O Lord Damodara, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent robe which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, who is the abode of entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved. Radharani, and I offer my obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord who displays unlimited pastimes.
Samudrastakam ki jai. Chetodharpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagninirvapanam shreyah kairavachandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस् तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशम् इहाजनि नानुरागः
Pranadapi sanjana tarorapi sayatana manna kirtaniya sadari.
नदनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीशकामे मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवदाभक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि
Ainantatanuja kinkaram patitam mishame bhavam buddho kripaya tava pada pankaja stidaduli sadarsam vichintaya.
Nayanam galata sudharya vadram gadagatirtaya gira pulgayar nitam vapu kada tavanam grahane bhavisade.
गायिदं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रविश्यायिदां शून्यायिदां जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे
आश्लिष्वापाद्रतां विनष्टुहम् अदर्शनान् मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विद्धातुरम्बटो मधुप्राणनाथस्तु स एव न परः.
Ribol, glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by chanting your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O
Almighty
Almighty Lord,
God, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want a number of followers. I only want your costly devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of
Son of
Maharaj Nanda
Maharaj
Krishna,
Nanda,
you go on, Prabhu.
O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of material birth and death. Please pick
Hello
me up
everyone. I'm
from
Yash
this
and I'm so
ocean
excited
of
to welcome
death
you to
and
this very
place me as one
special
of the
October
items
16th
of your
launch
lotus.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
Oh,
Oh
Govind,
Govinda, feeling of Presnam was sitting a moment to like 12 beer or more tears flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all weakened in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly in his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipable Lord unconditionally.
Ribol, Shri Siksastakam ki jai. Baujanma Koreyadi Shavana Kirtan, Tabutana Paya Krishna Pade Premadan. If one is infested with the 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many birds, he will not get the love of God. That is the ultimate goal of this chanting. The 10 offenses against the holy name are as follows. The first offense is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Second offense, to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of name of Lord Vishnu.
Disobey the orders of the spiritual masters.
Fourth offense, to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature and persons of the Vedic version.
To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination.
Sixth offense, to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord.
To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord.
Eighth offense, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karmakanda.
To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
Tenth offense, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting.
Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Let us offer humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone just like desired trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhyaeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And the Gaudiya Vaishnavinda ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for this reading session again. Be
Thank
nice
you.
to Hari Bol. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Yes.